Hello YouTube, D-Decken here, and it's a little past 1 a.m. and I just got DLvMax in the September 2021 KC Cup in Duel Links. And it's a little sad, actually. It's a little sad. So, for whatever reason, maybe it was just the time of day I was playing, maybe it was this or that, but there wasn't as many, I didn't see as many Blue Eyes decks as there used to be. Now, granted, when I got to Duel Level 17, there were definitely a couple Blue Eyes decks that were trying to, edge out wins, and, one or two actually succeeded against me, but nevertheless, I don't know, this feels, I don't know, this KC Cup was definitely a bit different, definitely a bit weird. Again, maybe it was the time of day, but I didn't see as many, any of the top decks. It's weird. The last duel I faced, my level up duel, was against some sort of a Gaga deck. Congratulations, you've reached DLvMax. You joined the second stage. Aim for the top. This is actually me doing this. This is me doing this live, and there it is. There it is. Yes, North America. Oh crap, I've exposed myself. That's fine. That's fine. But more importantly, I want to talk about the deck I used. And so, to anyone who's actually watched any of these videos for the longest time, what I generally like to do is I like to take one deck and I just play it until I pick a character and I play that character until I get DLvMax with them. I did that with Aliens with Yami Bakura. I did that with a very old variation of Gladiator Beast with Maximilian Pegasus. I did that with Insectors with Weevil. And just now I just got DLvMax at the very start of this tournament. I got DLvMax with Merrick with Bujin. Now, originally, this is the deck I used. It's very simple. It probably actually does need a few edits. And I'll talk about this deck in a while, but after this tournament, I'm not going to be using this deck anymore. I have to find a brand new deck to use, and while I have a few ideas of what I want to use, it's with the constant evolving landscape that is competitive decks and Duel Links, I don't know what would be a good deck. I don't know what to go with. I could try to go with Satellars. I could try for hires. A lot of options, but this deck, there are every deck I play that I've played for a very long time, there's some aspect of the deck that I really liked, and for whatever reason, at the time I played it, it was always very convenient to have the deck on hand. When it came with Alien, Alien could use their A counters to reduce the attack of opponent's monsters and be able to beat down damage. When it came to Glad Beast, I used Glad Beast at a time where people were playing a lot more defensively, and I was able to loop around that. When it came to Insectors, I was able to take advantage of Neo's fusion to send Insector Hornet to the graveyard and be able to do this and that. I was able to do a lot of really weird and little wacky strategies, and it was very fun. But with Bujin, I think the all-star monster of this deck, hands down, is Bujinki Fox. Bujinki Fox is absolutely amazing. Holy crap. There are times I did not want to see this card. 9 times out of 10, if I saw this card, I felt very secure. I felt very safe because there are a lot of OTK enabler decks in Duel Links, and what Bujinki Fox says is you discard a Bujin monster from your hand. For the rest of the turn, you take no battle damage. Bujinki Fox is a hollow life barrier in the form of a main deck monster. And that's really great, especially when you combine it with a turn 1 Yamato, who Yamato's effect is during the end phase, you add a Bujin and then discard a card from your hand. So a lot of the time you get your piece. Bujin, I should probably explain this. Bujin is basically a boss monster type deck. It is a Voltron boss monster style deck where you use 1 or 2 monsters at a time, but that 1 or 2 monsters are your key monsters. Whether you combine them with things with Sinew to be able to run over big monsters, Bujinki Crane to double your attack point monsters, or save or protect your monsters with Bujinki Hare and Bujinki Turtle, and either pop things with Mizuki. There's a lot of versatility with this deck that I very much love. It's just a matter of 9 times out of 10, if I saw Bujinki Fox, I could stop the Cyber Dragon beatdown. I could stop any sort of Harpy shenanigans. I could stop Blue Eyes if they weren't playing correctly. Granted, this deck, if this deck faces a competent Blue Eyes player, it loses. It loses hard. But gosh dang it, people don't understand this deck, and that was another thing. There was one level up match I played against a Cyber Dragon player, and the Cyber Dragon player did everything correctly. He did everything correctly. I opened Mitsuzuki and then set Karma Cut. He like when I attacked Mitsuzuki, he banished his like level 2 Cyber Dragon monster for overload, and he overloaded my Karma Cut to get rid of it. Cool. That's correct. I attacked Mitsuzuki, he took damage. On his turn, he activated the spell card that halves his life. He then activated his skill, got his monsters, went into Cyber Dragon Rampage, or the monster that attacked multiple times, and he had Fusion Gate. So he then also went into a Cyber End Dragon with a 4,000 attack points. And granted, at the time, I had Crane in my hand, and Crane bumps Mitsuzuki to 4K, to 3,800, but not 4K. Can't beat Cyber End Dragon. So theoretically speaking, if he attacked with the Cyber End Dragon first, like he would have won. He would have won the duel. He didn't. He attacked with the low attack weight monster. People don't expect this deck because my monster doubled it to 38. I ran over he ran into my monster. He lost. Like, now granted, yes, this deck can OTK in itself. I'm using cards like War Legacy Clash to reduce my opponent's monster's attack power probably to 0 or to like 800, and then combine that with something like Susanoo, who with Crane doubles his attack power to 3,800, instantly basically can just one-shot people without really knowing what they're doing. Combine them with cards like Lance and Cyclone to be able to get rid of back row, protect my monsters. A lot of versatility. I'm kind of mad though. There was one game I played. I don't know if I can show it off. If I have time, I don't know if I can show it off, but there's one game I played where I was very hesitant about my opponent's back row, so I went into a wrong monster. But that wrong monster, I realized I could have gone to Susanoo and just won. I didn't. It was a card I didn't. It was just mostly a bluff, and I lost because of it. But there's a lot of guessing with this deck. It's weird. Like, Bujin is a deck that tells your opponents what your card you're playing at all times. End phase, Yamato reveals a monster from your deck, sends a monster from your hand. If it's a different monster, your opponent gains so much knowledge. But the thing is, people don't read Bujin cards. They don't care. They just I do my effect, and oh, I counter. Like, you counter, I counter. I'm like, oh, I do this, I counter. You counter, I win. You win, I win. It's like, that's Bujin. That's Bujin. Bujin's fun. Bujin's very fun. I have to find a new deck to play now, though. But just talking about this deck, I am free to play. So the second copy of Bujin of Yamato I have was from a card, and I think 2 is a safe number. So the problem with Yamato is you can only control one Yamato at a time. If Yamato was a card that you control multiple copies of, I would actually probably recommend 3 copies of him. The thing is, while you would love to see him in your opening hand every time, there's also another argument to playing 2 Tenkis over 2 Yamatos. Tenki's also another recent addition to the deck, and it works. It works. Either if I have Yamato on the field, I can search Mitsuzuki. If I have Mitsuzuki already, I can search Yamato and start setting up. Like, this deck, again, is very much a toolbox deck, and I kind of like that. I like toolbox decks. I like being able to, handle most situations just from strategically figuring out what I'm doing. And I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to be able to replace this deck, but let me talk about the extra deck. And the extra deck has seen, 1 or 2 changes, but overall, it stayed more or less the same. Susanoo is the extra deck boss monster. You able to attack every monster your opponent controls. If you have Crane, you double it to 4,800. This thing is a crazy beast that can steal games outright. Just absolute steal games outright. Omega. Yes. Constellar Omega is a card a lot of people did not see coming, because what he does is you detach material and he's unaffected by spell and trap cards for the turn. So basically what that means is... if your opponent has cards like Canada or Book of Moon ready to respond to your monster, you proceed to you summon this monster. They try to activate that response. They try to floodgate it. They try to do whatever. You detach. You save your monster. This is a card I recommend against heavy back row decks, or decks that do a lot of really annoying things. Tsukiyomi. Tsukiyomi came up every so often, but for the most part, it mostly came up to bait things out. Bait out my opponent. So Tsukiyomi has 2 effects. Its first effect is you detach material, send all cards from your hand to the graveyard, and then proceed to draw 2 cards. That came up when I had a lot of grave oriented cards in my graveyard. But its other effect is what I really liked using it for. So if your opponent were to make this card leave the field from a card effect, you can then special summon Beast Warrior Bujin monsters from your graveyard to the field up to the number of exceed materials. So theoretically speaking, if you knew your opponent had something like Karma Cut or something ready to just out this monster to like be able to clear your board. Because, you know, one of the weaknesses of Exceed or Synchro Focus's decks in Duel Links is because there are so many like removal cards in the game right now, to where even if you do commit to a big summon, they can just get rid of it. So Tsukiyomi is a card that says, hey, if you try to get rid of my monster, I get more monsters back and then do something else. So, like, Tsukiyomi is fun. I did get to, this session I didn't get to, or this tournament I didn't really get to summon it, but it does have its niche uses. It's very situational. It's also another Beast Warrior, so it is also another, combination for the pieces for the deck. Direwolf is also amazing. Direwolf, you summon Direwolf when you know you can go into Carnation, or you go Direwolf after Carnation to... You use it to pop back row to clear boards to make sure to secure that you can be able to like OTK or be able to push on your opponent. It's a very nice card, very nice card. Malevolent Sin is Malevolent Sin. I don't need to really explain this. And last up is Mace Stroke. Now, Mace Stroke probably should not be in here. Mace Stroke should probably not be here. I think, if memory serves me correctly, I believe... let's see. Yeah, I can't tell. I don't know if Charlie's Paladino is in the game. I kind of forgot. I'm forgetting right now, but I would probably replace that for Mace Stroke. For the most part. Mace Stroke is a card that says basically if you be destroyed by battle, you can detach material to protect it, and you can detach to basically book up an opponent. This card I used early on in the deck to basically protect against a lot of like destruction effects, be able to stall for a turn. Yeah, no, it didn't really come up here. It did not come up here at all. If I had to make one change to the deck, I might change out Mace Stroke to maybe an M7, just for the sake of... Well, during the early version of this deck, before a few changes I made, I ran M7 over Malevolent Sin because with Omega, you can drop M7 over Omega to pretty much make it a 2700 board instead of a 24 beat stick. And then after a turn later, you can immediately get you get extra. You can then detach material to get extra bonuses. But that said, I would probably replace Mace Stroke with something. Literally something. I thought about Paperly Operative the last time I played this, but it never did add it. I just kind of forgot. But yeah, this is Bujin. This is the KC Cup Duel. I'm gonna miss this deck. I'm really gonna miss this deck. This deck had a lot of versatility. I got to do a lot of safe plays. And yeah, how is the KC Cup going for you? Are you struggling here and there? Is there certain decks that are just really annoying for you to face against? Did you face against me at any given point and you're like, why is this person playing Bujin? And or... Let me know in the comments. And if you've seen other Bujin players, let me know. I think a while back, Playmaker, the YouTube channel Playmaker showed off a OTK, a direct attack version of Bujin, which I thought was cool. I didn't run it just because I prefer the toolbox version, but there was like an OTK Bujin variation deck where you attack directly with your opponent's monsters. But like I said, I like this variation. I like this deck. I like the text I have this deck. I don't know if I would make any changes, but like I said, that's it for me. Hope everyone has a really good night. And yeah.